Frank Morris stared out the viewport at the swirling colors of the gas giant below. The Galactic Council Tower stood at the edge of a floating city, built by aliens thousands of years before humans had even discovered fire. 5 years ago, when humanity first joined the galactic community, this view had filled him with wonder. Now it only made him tired. "They're ready for us, sir," said Susan Baker. The young lieutenant stood straight in her blue uniform, datapad held against her chest. Frank nodded and straightened his tie. "Let's get this over with." They walked together down the long hallway. Alien diplomats from 27 species moved aside, some nodding respectfully, others pretending not to notice the humans at all. The council chamber was a huge room with curved walls and a domed ceiling showing the stars beyond. The 7 council members sat on raised platforms, looking down at everyone else. The Vorax representative, with his gray skin and 4 eyes, tapped his claws impatiently. "The human petition is denied," said the Tellurian representative before Frank could even speak. Her transparent skin glowed faintly blue with annoyance. "Again, we find your request for quantum communication technology to be premature." Frank kept his face calm, but inside he felt his frustration grow. This was the 3rd time Earth had been denied access to technology that even the youngest council races possessed. "May I ask the reason?" Frank said. The Quetzal representative, whose insect-like features remained completely still, spoke in a clicking voice. "Humans are too aggressive. Your history shows you cannot be trusted with advanced technology." Susan shifted beside Frank. He knew she wanted to argue. Every diplomat from Earth had heard this same excuse for 5 years. "The technology would help Earth coordinate our peacekeeping forces," Frank said. "The same forces that stopped the conflict in the Rigel sector last month." "A conflict that was minor," said the Vorax representative, "and one that would have resolved itself naturally." Frank knew this was a lie. The reports showed that without human intervention, the war would have spread to 3 more systems. The council members continued talking, but Frank had stopped listening. He looked at Susan, who raised an eyebrow. They had discussed this possibility. After months of reports back to Earth, after dozens of failed negotiations, they had their orders. Frank waited for a pause in the council's speeches. Then he stepped forward. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," he said clearly, "for 5 years, humanity has attempted to participate in good faith. We have followed your rules. We have sent aid when requested. We have opened our markets and shared our culture." The council members stared down at him, with expressions ranging from boredom to mild interest. In return, Frank continued, "We have been denied equal trading rights. We have been blocked from technology sharing programs. We have been treated as children rather than partners." The Quetzal representative's antennae twitched. "Is there a point to this speech, Ambassador Morris?" Frank nodded. "Yes. As of this moment, by order of Earth's united government, humanity is withdrawing from all galactic diplomatic talks and negotiations." The chamber went silent. Even the small floating translator devices seemed to freeze in the air. "You? What?" The Tellurian's skin flashed with patterns of confusion. "We are withdrawing," Frank repeated. "Earth will honor its existing agreements, but we will not participate in any further negotiations until our conditions for equal treatment are met." The Vorax stood up, his massive frame towering over his desk. "This is highly irregular. You cannot simply leave the council." "We can, and we are," Frank said. He turned to Susan and nodded. Together, they began walking toward the exit. Behind them, the chamber erupted in voices, some angry, some confused, some already calculating what this might mean. In the hallway, Susan finally spoke. "Do you think they'll take us seriously now?" Frank looked back at the closed doors of the council chamber. "They will soon enough. Earth is more important to them than they know." As they walked away, neither of them could have predicted just how right he was. 2 months after Earth's withdrawal, the gaps began to show. Captain Joe Martins noticed it first when his patrol ship, the Phoenix, passed near the Centauri trade lanes. "Sir, we have an unscheduled approach," said his navigator, Lisa Chen. 3 ships, non-human signatures. Joe looked up from his reports. Hostile. No weapons charge. They're broadcasting on open channels. They want to talk. This was unusual. Since the withdrawal, most alien ships avoided direct contact with humans. On screen, Joe said. The main display showed a Dravian ship, easily identified by its coral-like structure. The Dravians were a peaceful race known for their complex engineering. "Human vessel," the Dravian captain said, his translator changing his bubbling speech to English. "We request assistance. Our station in the Rigel sector is experiencing critical system failures." Joe frowned. "I thought the Council assigned Tellurian engineers to replace the human teams." "They did," the Dravian replied. His large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. The Tellurians studied the systems for weeks, but could not resolve the integration errors. The station supports 12,000 beings. Without repairs, life support will fail within days. Joe knew he should refuse. The Solitude Protocol was clear, but 12,000 lives were at stake. "Stand by," he told the Dravian, then switched to a secure Earth channel. Back on Earth, Patricia Coleman stared at the data with growing concern. As the lead scientist for alien technology integration, she had predicted this would happen, but not so soon. "It's worse than we thought," she told Frank Morris as they walked through the research center. "The Tellurians and Vorax claim they could easily replace human engineers, but they don't understand how we bridge the technology gaps." Frank stopped in front of a wall of screens showing various galactic locations. "Explain it simply." Patricia pointed to a display showing a space station with blinking red alerts. Many galactic technologies weren't designed to work together. Different species developed different approaches. When humans joined 5 years ago, we created workarounds and interfaces that made everything function together smoothly. "And now?" Frank asked. "Now those interfaces are breaking down without maintenance. The older races don't even understand how the systems work together because they didn't build the interfaces." Frank's communicator chimed. He listened to Captain Martinez's report about the Dravian request, then looked at Patricia. "What do you think? Should we help them?" Patricia considered for a moment. The Dravians weren't against us in the Council. And this could show the galaxy exactly what we've been trying to prove. Frank made his decision. "Captain Martinez, send a small engineering team to assess the situation. Document everything. Show them exactly what we can do." On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council held its 3rd emergency session that week. The human seats remained empty, a visual reminder of their absence. "This is becoming problematic," said the Tellurian representative. Her skin flashed with patterns of stress. "Supply chain disruptions have spread to 3 more sectors." The Vorax slammed his fist on the table. "It is ridiculous. How could creatures with barely any space travel experience become so important so quickly?" A junior Kitsa representative approached the main table, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The humans responded to the Dravian distress call," she reported. "They sent engineers to the Rigel station." The council chamber fell silent. "Did they demand payment? Political concessions?" asked the Vorax. "No," replied the junior Ketsa. "They simply helped." Outside the chamber, the Vorax ambassador to Earth met secretly with a representative from his government. "We miscalculated," the ambassador admitted. "Humans were solving problems throughout the galaxy that we didn't even recognize as problems. Without them, these issues are becoming critical. Can we solve these problems ourselves?" asked the government official. The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, his species equivalent of a frustrated sigh. "Not quickly enough. And every day we try and fail, more races see the value of human involvement." Across the galaxy, 17 smaller species met in secret. They had all benefited from human trade and technology. Now they began to form a plan. one that didn't include waiting for the Council to admit its mistake. 2 months after Earth's withdrawal, the gaps began to show. Captain Joe Martins noticed it first when his patrol ship, the Phoenix, passed near the Centauri trade lanes. "Sir, we have an unscheduled approach," said his navigator, Lisa Chen. "3 ships, non-human signatures." Joe looked up from his reports. "Hostile. No weapons charged. They're broadcasting on open channels. They want to talk." This was unusual. Since the withdrawal, most alien ships avoided direct contact with humans. On screen, Joe said. The main display showed a Dravian ship, easily identified by its coral-like structure. The Dravians were a peaceful race known for their complex engineering. "Human vessel," the Dravian captain said, his translator changing his bubbling speech to English. "We request assistance. Our station in the Rigel sector is experiencing critical system failures." Joe frowned. "I thought the Council assigned Tellurian engineers to replace the human teams." "They did," the Dravian replied. His large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. The Tellurians studied the systems for weeks, but could not resolve the integration errors. "The station supports 12,000 beings. Without repairs, life support will fail within days." Joe knew he should refuse. The Solitude Protocol was clear, but 12,000 lives were at stake. "Stand by," he told the Dravian, then switched to a secure Earth channel. Back on Earth, Patricia Coleman stared at the data with growing concern. As the lead scientist for alien technology integration, she had predicted this would happen, but not so soon. "It's worse than we thought," she told Frank Morris as they walked through the research center. The Tellurians and Vorax claimed they could easily replace human engineers, but they don't understand how we bridge the technology gaps. Frank stopped in front of a wall of screens showing various galactic locations. "Explain it simply." Patricia pointed to a display showing a space station with blinking red alerts. Many galactic technologies weren't designed to work together. Different species developed different approaches. When humans joined 5 years ago, we created workarounds and interfaces that made everything function together smoothly. "And now?" Frank asked. "Now those interfaces are breaking down without maintenance. The older races don't even understand how the systems work together because they didn't build the interfaces." Frank's communicator chimed. He listened to Captain Martinez's report about the Dravian request, then looked at Patricia. "What do you think? Should we help them?" Patricia considered for a moment. The Dravians weren't against us in the Council, and this could show the galaxy exactly what we've been trying to prove. Frank made his decision. "Captain Martinez, send a small engineering team to assess the situation. Document everything. Show them exactly what we can do." On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council held its 3rd emergency session that week. The human seats remained empty, a visual reminder of their absence. "This is becoming problematic," said the Tellurian representative. Her skin flashed with patterns of stress. "Supply chain disruptions have spread to 3 more sectors." The Vorax slammed his fist on the table. "It is ridiculous. How could creatures with barely any space travel experience become so important so quickly?" A junior Kitsa representative approached the main table, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The humans responded to the Dravian distress call," she reported. "They sent engineers to the Rigel station." The council chamber fell silent. "Did they demand payment? Political concessions?" asked the Vorax. "No," replied the junior Ketsa. "They simply helped." Outside the chamber, the Vorax ambassador to Earth met secretly with a representative from his government. "We miscalculated," the ambassador admitted. "Humans were solving problems throughout the galaxy that we didn't even recognize as problems. Without them, these issues are becoming critical." "Can we solve these problems ourselves?" asked the government official. The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, his species equivalent of a frustrated sigh. "Not quickly enough. And every day we try and fail, more races see the value of human involvement." Across the galaxy, 17 smaller species met in secret. They had all benefited from human trade and technology. Now they began to form a plan, one that didn't include waiting for the Council to admit its mistake. 6 months into Earth's withdrawal, Admiral William Grant stood before the holographic map of the galaxy in Earth's defense headquarters. Red dots blinked across the display, each one representing a potential conflict zone. 5 new hotspots in the last week alone, he said to the gathered military leaders. The Quetzal are moving warships to the edge of Procyon space. The Orions and Centauri are arguing over mining rights that humans use to oversee. Laura Mitchell, Earth's top military analyst, zoomed in on a cluster of red dots. This is the most concerning area. The Rigel sector has 3 different species, all claiming the same resource-rich planets. Without human peacekeepers in the region, they're already exchanging threats. President Garcia studied the map with a frown. I never expected our absence to create this much instability this quickly. Frank Morris had expected it. During his years as ambassador, he had watched human peacekeepers solve conflicts that had been brewing for decades. Humans didn't get bogged down in ancient grudges or complex alien politics. They found practical solutions that worked for everyone. The council races are blaming us, Frank said. They're telling everyone that Earth destabilized the galaxy by withdrawing. Susan Baker, recently promoted to commander, snorted. That's rich. They spent 5 years telling us we were too young and unimportant to deserve equal treatment. Now suddenly we're powerful enough to break galactic peace. A young officer entered the room and handed Admiral Grant a datapad. The Admiral read it quickly, then looked up. We have 3 non-council ships approaching Earth's solar system. They're requesting permission to enter our space and speak directly with our government. This was unexpected. Most alien ships had avoided Earth since the withdrawal. What species? The President asked. Arcturians, Dradians, and Polarians. Frank raised his eyebrows in surprise. These were mid-tier species, not powerful enough to be on the Council, but respected throughout the galaxy. Let them approach, President Garcia decided, but keep our defenses ready, just in case. 2 hours later, Frank and Susan stood in the diplomatic reception room as the alien representatives entered. The Arcturian diplomat, tall and blue-skinned, bowed deeply. We come without council permission, she said. We represent 17 species who believe the council has failed us. The Dravian, his coral-like skin glistening under Earth's lights, stepped forward. We have watched human peacekeepers solve problems that plagued our worlds for generations. Now those problems return, and the Council does nothing. The Polarian floated forward on his gravity disk, his crystalline body reflecting rainbow patterns on the walls. We wish to form direct alliances with Earth, without Council interference. Frank exchanged a glance with Susan. This was a major development, exactly what they had hoped might happen, but far sooner than expected. In another part of the galaxy, a Quetzal battle fleet moved into position near a disputed planet. For centuries, the Quetzal had used the threat of their superior weapons to get their way. Without human diplomats to negotiate compromises, they had returned to their old tactics. What they didn't know was that Earth had been watching them closely. Admiral Grant had positioned stealth observation drones throughout the sector. Every movement of the Quetzal fleet was recorded and analyzed. They're preparing for a show of force, Laura Mitchell concluded after studying the data. They don't actually want war, but they're using the current instability to grab territory. On Earth, the President listened to the alien diplomat's proposal for a new alliance. It was exactly what Earth had been positioning for, but she was careful not to seem too eager. We will consider your proposal, she told them. Earth wants peace and cooperation, but we cannot return to a system where we are treated as lesser beings. The Arcturian nodded. The galaxy is learning what we lose when humans walk away. Many worlds are ready to offer what the Council would not. As the meeting ended, Frank stepped aside with Susan. This is happening faster than we planned, he said quietly. Susan watched the aliens leave. Is that a problem? Frank shook his head. No, But we need to be ready. The council races won't give up power easily. Things might get worse before they get better. 1 year after Earth's withdrawal, the galactic economy was struggling. Peter Collins, Earth's trade minister, walked through what used to be the busiest alien market on Earth. Now it was almost empty. The few alien traders who remained looked anxious, their goods piled high with few customers. "Sad sight," said Frank Morris as he joined Peter. "But necessary." Peter nodded. "Our own economy adapted quickly. We shifted trade to internal markets and the friendly non-council worlds. But out there," he gestured toward the sky, "the reports say some sectors are facing severe shortages." They entered a secure building where Susan Baker waited with new data. Screens around the room showed economic indicators from across the galaxy. Most were flashing red. The Galactic Trade Authority admitted today that economic growth has reversed for the first time in 200 years, Susan said. Human innovation was driving more progress than anyone realized. Frank wasn't surprised. Humans had a talent for finding better ways to do things. While ancient alien species relied on tradition, humans constantly experimented and improved. "The council is fracturing," Susan continued. 3 representatives blamed the Vorax for mishandling the human situation. 2 others suggested offering concessions to bring Earth back to the table. Peter smiled slightly. "Are we ready for Phase 2? Frank nodded. "The President approved it this morning. We start direct trade agreements with the 17 friendly worlds. No council oversight, no council taxes, no council restrictions." On the other side of the galaxy, in the great market of Centauri Prime, a Tellurian trader named Vex watched in frustration as customers walked past her shop without stopping. Before the human withdrawal, she had specialized in trading Earth goods to other species. Now her shelves stood nearly empty. "Another day, another loss," she muttered to herself. A shadow fell across her counter as a tall figure stopped at her shop. Vex looked up to see a Tellurian diplomat, one she recognized from official broadcasts. "Not here to buy?" Vex asked bitterly. The diplomat looked around to ensure no one was listening. "I'm here with an offer. The High Council of Tellurians has sent me to Earth. Unofficially." Vex's skin flashed with surprise patterns. "To beg the humans to return." "Not beg. Negotiate. We are prepared to offer them direct access to our quantum communication technology. The very technology the Galactic Council denied them." Vex couldn't believe what she was hearing. The Tellurians were going behind the Council's back. "The Council will be furious," she said. The diplomat's skin pulsed with determination. "The Council is failing. Their pride blinds them to reality. Humans have proven more essential than anyone predicted." In Earth's research center, Patricia Coleman showed her latest findings to a group of scientists. On a large screen, diagrams of alien and human technology appeared side by side. "While we've been developing in isolation, we've actually surpassed Vorax computing technology," she said. "Their systems haven't significantly improved in a century. They just didn't tell us." One of the scientists raised a hand. "They claimed their technology was thousands of years ahead of ours." Patricia nodded. "In some areas it is, but they stopped innovating. They found something that worked and stuck with it. Humans never stopped trying to make things better." In the diplomatic wing of Earth's government building, Frank Morris met with representatives from 23 non-council worlds. It was more than the original 17. Word had spread about Earth's new approach. "We offer fair trade, mutual defense, and technology sharing," Frank told them. "All we ask is equal treatment and respect." The alien diplomats exchanged glances. What Earth offered was revolutionary. The Council had always controlled access to advanced technology, using it to keep younger species dependent. An Arcturian spoke first. "My government accepts these terms." One by one, the others agreed. In orbit above Earth, a Tellurian diplomatic vessel waited for permission to land. Behind it, ships from 5 other council races had also arrived, each claiming to have special offers for humanity. Susan Baker watched the sensor readings with amusement. The proud council races, lining up to speak with us. Who would have thought? Frank looked at the ships with mixed feelings. Their plan was working even better than expected, but he knew that the most powerful council races would not surrender their position easily. Keep a close eye on the Quetzal and Vorax military movements, he told Susan. They might try something desperate before admitting they need us. 18 months after Earth's withdrawal, Karen Wright, Earth's defense secretary, stood before a wall of screens showing military movements across 3 sectors of space. 3 minor conflicts had erupted between alien races, exactly as Laura Mitchell had predicted months earlier. The Quetzal have moved warships into the disputed zone, Karen said, pointing to red dots on the display. The Procyon colonies are evacuating their outer settlements. Neither side is backing down. President Garcia frowned at the images. And the council? They sent diplomats who have been talking for weeks with no progress, Frank Morris said. Without human mediators, they fall back on traditional approaches that haven't worked for centuries. Susan Baker entered the room, slightly out of breath. We just intercepted communications from the council chamber. The Arcturian representative publicly blamed the Vorax for driving humans away. 6 other species supported the accusation. Frank raised his eyebrows. This was a major break in council unity. For thousands of years, the council had maintained a united front, at least in public. The council is reaching a breaking point, he said. Their authority depended on the appearance of unity and wisdom. Now everyone can see they've failed. A young officer approached with a datapad. Sir, we've received an emergency distress call from Proxima Colony. A solar storm has damaged their atmospheric generators. They're requesting immediate human assistance. Frank looked at President Garcia, who nodded. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for, she said. A chance to demonstrate our capabilities without appearing aggressive. Within hours, Captain Ryan Phillips and the crew of the Earth ship Horizon prepared for rescue operations. Unlike previous human vessels, the Horizon featured technology developed during Earth's year of isolation. Its engines were faster, its shields stronger, and its atmospheric repair systems more advanced than anything the council races had seen. As the Horizon approached Proxima Colony, Ryan saw the damage was worse than reported. The atmospheric shield had failed over the largest settlement dome. Toxic gases from the planet's atmosphere were already seeping in. Council ships are 12 hours away, his communications officer reported. Proxima Command says they don't have that long. Ryan made a quick decision. Deploy our portable shield generators. Get emergency teams ready. The human ship moved into position above the damaged dome. New technology, developed by Patricia Coleman's team, allowed them to project a temporary atmospheric shield while repair teams went to work. Across the galaxy, news of the human rescue operation spread rapidly. The Galactic News Network broadcast live footage of human teams working efficiently to save the colony while council ships were still en route. In the council chamber, the Vorax representative watched the broadcast with growing alarm. They're making us look incompetent, he growled to an aide. Because we are incompetent, the aide replied quietly. At least compared to human response times. Frank Morris watched the reports from Earth with satisfaction. Captain Phillips and his crew had saved over 20,000 lives at the colony. More importantly, they had done it with technology the Council didn't know humans possessed. The Council races believed keeping advanced technology from us would keep us dependent, Frank told Susan. Instead, it forced us to develop our own solutions. Susan smiled. Solutions that in some cases work better than theirs. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority message. Frank read it quickly, then looked up in surprise. Representatives from 32 species have formally requested Earth lead the formation of a new galactic alliance, he said. Not just the original 17. 32. Susan's eyes widened. That's more than half the known spacefaring species. In another part of the galaxy, the Quetzal fleet commander received new orders from his government. The expected attack on the Procyon colonies was to be postponed. Instead, the fleet was to return to Quetzal space immediately. But why? The commander asked his superior. "The political situation is shifting," came the reply. "Attacking now would unite too many species against us." And there was a pause. "We may need to reconsider our position regarding humans." Back on Earth, Frank Morris began preparations for his possible return to galactic diplomacy. This time, he would not go as a supplicant asking for equal treatment. This time, he would go as the representative of the most important species in the galaxy. The day of Earth's return to galactic politics arrived with little fanfare, but enormous tension. Frank Morris adjusted his formal uniform as the Earth diplomatic shuttle approached the Council Tower. Through the viewport, he could see hundreds of alien ships in orbit, representing nearly every known species. "Quite an audience," Susan Baker said quietly. Frank nodded. "They all want to see what happens next." For weeks, Earth had been negotiating the terms of its diplomatic return. The success of Captain Ryan Phillips at Proxima Colony had dramatically strengthened Earth's position. The rescue operation had shown the galaxy that humans had continued to advance even during their isolation. "Remember," Frank told his team of diplomats, "we are not asking for anything. We are stating our conditions." The shuttle docked at the Council Tower. As Frank and his team walked through the corridors, alien diplomats stepped aside, watching with expressions ranging from hope to worry to resentment. The council chamber fell silent as Frank entered. The 7 council members sat in their elevated positions, but something was different. The Vorax representative, once so dismissive of humans, now looked uncomfortable. The Tellurian's skin glowed with anxious patterns. For the first time in galactic history, a new chair had been added to the main council table. Not in the observer section where Earth had previously been seated, but among the full council members. Frank walked directly to this chair and sat down. Susan and the other human diplomats took positions behind him. "Welcome back, Ambassador Morris," the Tellurian representative said. Her voice was carefully neutral. "The Council recognizes Earth's return to diplomatic relations." Frank nodded but said nothing. The strategy had been decided weeks earlier. Let them speak first. Let them offer concessions before making demands. The Vorax representative shifted in his seat. "In recognition of humanity's contributions to galactic stability, the Council has voted to offer Earth special trading status." Frank remained silent, his face showing nothing. The Quetzal representative's antennae twitched with irritation. "We are also prepared to share certain technologies previously withheld." Still Frank said nothing. Finally, the oldest council member, a draconian whose species had been spacefaring for 50,000 years, spoke up. "Ambassador Morris, we have made unprecedented offers. Will Earth not respond?" Frank leaned forward. "Earth has already communicated its conditions for return. Have you agreed to them?" The chamber grew tense. Behind closed doors, the Council had debated Earth's conditions for days. Equal access to all technology, equal voting rights on all matters, full membership in the Council. "Some of your conditions would require changes to traditions thousands of years old," the Vorax said, his voice rising. Frank stood up slowly. "Then we have nothing to discuss. Earth will proceed with forming the new alliance. 32 species have already committed to join us." He turned to leave. Susan and the human team followed. "Wait." The Tellurian's voice echoed in the chamber. "The Council accepts Earth's conditions." Frank turned back. "All of them." The 7 council members looked at each other. Then, one by one, they nodded. "All of them," the Tellurian confirmed. Frank returned to his seat. "Then let us begin drafting the new Galactic Treaty of 2159. For the next several hours, the humans and council races worked through the details of a new galactic structure. Equal representation, technology sharing, fair trade practices, everything Earth had been denied for 5 years. As the session ended, the Vorax representative approached Frank privately. "You forced our hand," he said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "No species has ever challenged the Council so effectively." Frank met his gaze steadily. "We didn't want to challenge you. We wanted to work with you as equals. You gave us no choice." The Vorax was quiet for a moment. "How did you know it would work? That the galaxy needed humans this much?" Frank smiled slightly. "Because in just 5 years, we solved problems you had lived with for centuries. We saw solutions where you saw only complications. That's what humans do." Later, as the Earth shuttle left the Council Tower, Susan looked out at the stars. "Do you think they'll keep their word this time?" Frank nodded. "They know what happens if they don't. And next time, we wouldn't just withdraw. We'd lead half the galaxy away with us." 2 years after Earth's withdrawal, the galaxy looked very different. Frank Morris stood at the observation deck of the new Galactic Cooperation Center, built in neutral space between Earth and the traditional Council worlds. Below him, ships from dozens of species moved through the busy trading lanes. "Hard to believe it's only been 2 years, Susan Baker said as she joined him. Now serving as Earth's deputy ambassador, she had helped implement many of the changes the new treaty had created. Frank nodded. Sometimes the best way to fix a broken system is to walk away from it. The Council still existed, but it had been completely restructured. Size and age no longer determined influence. Instead, actual contributions to galactic peace and prosperity were what mattered. Under the new rules, Earth had earned a permanent seat among the leadership. Ambassador Morris, a young human diplomat, approached with a datapad. "The joint development meeting is starting. The Arcturians and Tellurians are waiting for you." Frank checked the time. The meeting would discuss one of the most successful outcomes of the new treaty: collaborative technology development. Instead of hoarding knowledge, species now work together, combining their unique perspectives. "I'll be right there," he said. Across the galaxy, the effects of human integration could be seen everywhere. On a distant mining world, human engineers worked alongside Quetzal workers, using Earth mining techniques that were safer and more efficient than the traditional methods. The Quetzal, once so proud and resistant to change, had finally admitted that sometimes newer ways were better. In the Procyon sector, where conflict had nearly erupted 18 months earlier, human mediators had helped negotiate a resource-sharing agreement that benefited all local species. The disputed planets now hosted mixed communities working together instead of fighting. Even the Vorax, the most resistant to human influence, had begun adopting human organizational methods in their government. The results spoke for themselves. Decisions that once took years now happened in weeks. On Earth, Patricia Coleman supervised the construction of the first Galactic Technology Institute. Scientists from 27 species would work together here, sharing knowledge openly. "Remember when they wouldn't even let us see their basic communication systems?" she asked a colleague. "Now they're sending their brightest minds to work with us." Her colleague laughed. "Amazing what a little withdrawal can do." In the main chamber of the Galactic Cooperation Center, representatives gathered for the signing of the new Galactic Charter. Unlike the old Council rules, this document had been created with input from all spacefaring species, not just the oldest ones. President Garcia stood at the podium. 2 years ago, Earth made a difficult choice. We stepped back from a system that refused to treat us as equals. Today, we step forward together into a new era of true cooperation. The chamber erupted in applause. Even the Vorax representative joined in, his 4 eyes blinking in what humans now recognized as approval. After the ceremony, Frank and Susan found a quiet moment away from the crowds. "I got the latest economic reports this morning," Susan said. "Galactic trade is up 28% compared to pre-withdrawal levels. Innovation rates have nearly doubled." Frank wasn't surprised. The old system had stifled progress by controlling who could access advanced knowledge. The new system encouraged sharing and collaboration. "What about our next challenge?" Susan asked. Frank looked out at the stars. "The galaxy is vast. There are still unexplored regions, still problems to solve. But now, we'll face them together, as equals." A group of young diplomats from various species approached, eager to speak with the famous human ambassador who had changed galactic politics forever. They're calling it the human strategy now, Susan said quietly. Diplomatic schools across the galaxy are teaching it as a case study. Frank smiled. All we did was know our own worth and refuse to accept less. He turned to greet the young diplomats. The future of the galaxy stood before him, a future where species worked together, respecting each other's strengths. A future that humans had helped create, simply by walking away at exactly the right moment. Now, Frank thought, the real work begins.